temperature rising, all smiles from every...
Hello everyone, this is Rob Johnson, former Chicago TV news anchor, current communications consultant, and former Neighborhood Journal TV guest. You know, it's great to have a live stream that takes issues from all different neighborhoods in Chicago and really gives them the attention they deserve. And this one, the 11th Ward Candidate Forum, is a great idea to learn more about the issues and to learn more about the candidates. And there's no better person to do that based on his knowledge, his experience, his trustworthiness in the neighborhood than Steve Dimitro to be the moderator of this 11th Ward Candidate Forum. So here's Steve.
Thank you for the kind words, Rob. I appreciate it. The 11th Ward, 5 unique neighborhoods that together make one of the most diverse wards in all of Chicago. There are over 14 different ethnic groups in the 11th Ward. In Armour Square, Bridgeport, Canaryville, Chinatown, and McKinley Park. Each one of these neighborhoods has their own special character. The voters of these neighborhoods are going to choose who will represent them as aldermen. And regardless of who wins, Chicago history will be made. As of now, this election is at a dead heat. Either candidate can win. And if a candidate wins, they may only win by double digits or single digits for that matter. The Neighborhood Journal Forum hopes to give voters a better understanding of the candidates and a chance to ask the candidates questions live, real time. So for tonight, Neighborhood Journal TV is truly the town hall of the 11th Ward. And I'd like to introduce both of the candidates. And before I introduce them, these are 2 really good people. I've had a chance to meet them, and they both strongly believe in their heart that they are doing what's best and what's right for not only the 11th Ward, but the city of Chicago. And I also like to thank all the candidates that ran for alderman. They too tried to do the right thing and want to do the right thing. So here we are. Welcome aboard. How are you?
Hello, everyone.
All right. Everybody. So if you're watching us on Facebook and you want to ask a question, on the scroll, you're going to see the instructions. You have to go to the Neighborhood Journal Facebook page. And then from there, if you have a question, all you have to do is just type in the question and it'll appear on our screen. And there'll probably be a lot of questions, so we're probably not going to get at all of them. But you have to keep your questions maybe 2 or 3 sentences. You don't want to go really long. So why don't we start with an opening statement from the candidates. And Nicole, why don't we start with you?
Sure. Thanks, Steve. And thank you, everybody, for joining today. I see that the audience count keeps going up, so hopefully that number gets even higher. I'm a lifelong Chinatown and Bridgeport resident. I can count my family roots back 4 generations, and I'm raising a 5th now with my children, being raised in the same building that my grandparents bought when they were first able to purchase property in the neighborhood. I'm a single mom. I'm a proud product of the Chicago public school system. I'm a graduate of Mark Sheridan Math and Science Academy right here in the ward, and my kids attended Haynes School. And for the last 15 years before I was appointed,
you know what? We're getting a question that there's no audio. So can you please speak up, Nicole?
Yes. Can you hear me?
All right. How's the audio? Is the audio coming in now?
Hello. Can people hear me?
Okay, they have audio. Okay, you're good.
All right. Can I start that over?
Please do. My apologies.
Yeah. Thanks. No, that's okay. Hey, this is the world of technology. I'm just going to hold the microphone a little bit closer to my mouth here, if that helps. So I'm a lifelong resident of Chinatown and Bridgeport. I can trace my family roots back 4 generations in Chinatown, and I'm raising a 5th generation now with my children. I'm as a single mom living in the same building that my grandparents bought when they were first able to purchase property in the neighborhood. I'm a single mom and a CPS graduate. I attended Mark Sheridan Math and Science Academy right here in the ward. My kids went to Haynes Elementary School, and they are now following in the Lee family tradition of going to Whitney Young High School. I've spent my career before becoming an alderman in the service of others and doing good in the world. And I'm very committed to this community. So much so that this is the reason why I'm doing this and running for office to stay as the alderman of the 11th Ward. I want my children and future generations to be set up for success and to thrive in the future so that they have the kind of community that I had growing up, which has given me so much and made me who I am. I fought for and won over the last 12 months with my team additional funding for police through the budget, as well as funding for CTA security, advancing the agenda for Near South High School, which has been so sorely needed for the last several decades. And we've been working on making the streets safer with lights and better sidewalks. Right now, I'm the only candidate in the race that has the experience with a proven track record of delivering community success and high quality services for every single resident of the 11th Ward. I'm asking you for your support on April 4th. Early voting started today. And with that, I will end here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Tony, opening remarks, please.
Hello, everyone. Good evening, and thank you to everyone that has tuned in tonight. And thank you, Steve, for hosting this candidate forum. I'm Anthony Tony Scervino, and I am running for alderman because I am concerned about the future of our ward. Mayor Lightfoot's appointee has given us irresponsible leadership. Since I announced my candidacy, my top priority has been public safety. As your elected alderman, your safety will continue to be my top priority. Throughout this forum, I will provide fact-based examples of my opponent's failed leadership. On February 28th, 69% of you and your neighbors did not vote for my opponent. They want change. True change. I am that change with strong grassroots supporters. As your next alderman, we will move forward in the right direction, improve physical infrastructure, and foster positive relationships for all our community. It's time to put our community on the right track, guys. I am Tony Scervino, and on April 4th, I ask for your vote to make a safer, stronger, and better ward for all of us. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to switch screens here. All right, here. I got to bring in Anthony. We got. Okay, let's do this. How's that? That's better. All right, much better. Okay, so let me ask both of you a question. The 11th Ward is one of the most diverse wards in Chicago. There's in my understanding, there's over 14 different ethnic groups in the 11th Ward, which makes us one of the most diverse wards in the entire city of Chicago. Something that both of you are very proud of, I'm sure. Now, the question is, if elected, what will you do to give the appearance that you are not favoring one ethnic group over the other? And Nicole Lee, we'll start with you.
Thanks for the question, Steve. And I think
louder, please. Thank you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I appreciate the question, and I think we've got to get beyond just appearances. I think I've proven in the 12 months that I've already been on the job that I'm here to represent everybody in this community, from every corner of the ward geographically and across every ethnic group that's here. And I think the way that you do that is what I've been doing for the last 12 months, which is going out and meeting people where they are, listening to what their issues and concerns are, and addressing them in a fair and balanced way. It's about equity and inclusion and ensuring that everybody receives fair and equal treatment.
Thank you. Tony?
It is an office for all, Steve. And I mean every square inch. The 5 neighborhoods that you talked about, Canaryville, Chinatown, Bridgeport, Armour Square, McKinley, it is for all. And your office, the Aldermanic office, has to reflect every neighborhood. We have to showcase every neighborhood, our cultures, our traditions, our religions. We have to respect one another. We have to appreciate one another. We have to have an office that looks like the United Nations, because that's what our 11th Ward looks like. We have to have Hispanic and bilingual Hispanic office personnel. Chinese, speaking both dialects, or there's several dialects, Cantonese, Mandarin. We have to have white people. We have to have African Americans. It has to be a cover all with all bilingual speaking so that we can hit every inch and that we can take care of every need in our community.
Thank you. Okay, Tony, we'll start with you first now. Specifically, what is your plan for making the 11th Ward safer?
Specifically, Steve, we're at a 40% increase in crime under the present leadership. I want to beat 914. I know we talk about it, but it's alarming. It's alarming to have led the entire city in robberies in the year 2022, equivalent to a robbery happening every other day. We have to do more than go to beat meetings, and 12 months is a rookie. 12 months in office is a rookie. There's not much experience behind that. There's so much to do. There's so much to learn. There's so many coalitions to build.
Tony.
Yes.
Could you be specific on what is your plan to make the 11th Ward safer?
Okay, number one, demand from that 5th floor to stop crime. It's at an alarming rate. It's the highest rate it's ever been. We're under siege. Go to 35th in Michigan, to the doorstep of the superintendent of police, and demand stop crime. Have peaceful marches, safer streets for all. Peaceful marches throughout our 11th Ward because it's that out of control. Community-based policing, starting with officer friendly in the schools, at the preschool and kindergarten, 1st grade, 2nd grade. That's where the foundation for law and order starts. We go from there, neighborhood block clubs with co-aldermen that report directly to me bi-weekly so that we could keep a finger on the pulse. We're building trust in those neighborhoods with neighborhood relations, building trust, building a rapport. We're adding foot officers. Foot officers know the people they serve. They know the businesses they serve. The businesses and people that they serve know who they are. We don't know that anymore. We want bike patrols. These are mobile patrols that could go from McKinley to Armour Square within minutes and mobilize and take care of problems all over the ward. I want to add a stationary directive patrol car sitting at the red line, 22nd and Wentworth, sitting there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. I want to close number 18 karaoke bar. There's been 2 shootings and a stabbing there. It shouldn't be open. It's a threat to all members of the community. That's just the start, Steve. We have to prioritize this.
All right, Nicole, please.
Thanks. Can you hear me okay?
Yes. Guys, if the audience, the viewers, if you can't hear her, just type something in the comment section. Okay? Perfect sound. Perfect.
So keeping our community safe is a top priority for me. And that's why I've been working so closely with our local commanders and city hall leaders to bring the resources that we need to the 11th Ward. Now, I know that my opponent here has talked about my rookie year with the last 12 months. And I have learned a lot on the job. And I've seen a lot as well. And I know actually that it's not necessarily the job of the alderman to stand guard and ask for and to demand bike patrols and missions when we have a shortage of police officers across this city right now. And I know that Tony's very familiar with that as he's a police officer. And attending CAPS meetings is vitally important to community policing. That is something that I've been committed to. My staff and I have been attending those, and we are listening to what's going on in the community. But we need the community's help too. And every time I'm in front of anybody talking about public safety, I'm always reminding our constituents of the responsibility that we have as community members. I agree with you, Tony, on block clubs and having our finger on the pulse of everything. But we've got to build that community back up. We have that here. We have such a rich history in this community of people looking out for one another. And I think that COVID really did a number on us in that sense. So we need to make it so that people are out and about, walking around, because people feel safer when there's other people around. So what I'm doing as alderman in the last 12 months is making sure that there's sufficient funding to make sure that the police are fully resourced. We also have to take a look at how we get more police officers or more people to join the police force in general to keep up with their retirements. This is a whole ecosystem. And it's really not just as simple as having a peaceful march and demanding from somebody that they put a car 24/7 to prioritize over everything else that's going around the city. Yes, I live in Beat 914, and it's not lost on me. I've attended every single one of the BACP community nuisance meetings having to do with number 18 karaoke bar. And everything is going through the process, and we are keeping an eagle eye on everything that's going on with that. We are watching them because we want good operators of businesses in our community, and that's how we're going to continue to keep improve our community safety. Thank you.
Okay. Tony, do you have a rebuttal for that? Yes or no? We can move on.
No, it's
okay.
It's fine. 12 months, honestly, 12 months.
Okay, all right. Well,
you have to do more than attend beat meetings. We need more. Lives are at stake. We need more, and that's the clearest rebuttal. We need to demand more. We need to be at them doorsteps of the mayor.
Okay.
We need to be at the doorstep of the superintendent. We need to march. We need to.
Okay. All right. Well, listen. Okay.
Yep.
Now, hold on. Nicole, you raised what we call an objection. Go ahead.
Yeah. So as long as we're rebutting here.
We give the candidates a chance to rebuttal, right?
I didn't get a chance
absolutely,
to rebuttal.
absolutely.
I'm not done.
Yeah. No. Well, you are because it's a short rebuttal.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Go ahead.
My turn on that. Yeah.
Yes. Absolutely.
I'm clear on what the job of an alderman is. I'm not sure that you are in terms of what the role of the alderman is. And the primary role here is to make sure that we're supporting the people that are already in the jobs. So I shudder to think that you would actually be critical of what the police have already done in the 9th District and on Beat 914, because they've done everything that they can. We've been supporting them. We've been getting new officers on the 9th District. We have 2 cars, the only beat in the entire district that has 2 beat cars and an additional car on the weekends. That's more resources, and we need more, and it's not enough. And we're still working on that. We're working together with the community and the police and the local Chamber of Commerce all together to make this happen.
Okay. Now, Tony, do you have anything short, or let's just move on? Okay. So the next question. The so we hit the safety issue. Okay. Now let's go to city services. Okay. So the 11th Ward, well, particularly Bridgeport, there's been a large amount of complaints about the rodents, right? I think everybody can agree that there's a large amount of rodents, and it's a major concern. You see dead rodents on the street, and the question is for both candidates, and Nicole, we'll start with you. What should be done about to resolve the question of the rodents, other than more bait? Your sound, please. I'm sorry. Yes.
As I understand it, is that better?
Yes, please. Yeah, perfect.
Can you hear me? Okay.
It's perfect. Your sound is perfect now.
As I understand, before my time, the city stopped baiting on a regular cycle, which right now everything's done on sort of a reactive basis. So first and foremost, we've got to keep up with the baiting, but there's responsibility on with all of the residents too. This is everything from making sure that everybody disposes of their waste properly. I mean, it's as simple as making sure that you put your rubbish into a trash bin and cover it up. And that if you have a pet, that you're picking up after them. So there are many things that we can do from a personal habit perspective that would help everybody in the neighborhood with this rat problem. So keeping up with the baiting, and those of you who are part of the TNR Trap, Neuter, and Release program, thank you for the public service that you're already providing. I happen to live on a street where my neighbors have they take care of cats, and we don't have a rat problem. So one of the things that I'm looking into is how to fund a TNR program for anybody else that wants to participate in that and trap, neuter, and release feral cats into the neighborhood, because they do help to keep the rats at bay.
Would you go as far as to start finding residents?
Start finding residents for?
Well, sometimes you go through the alleys and you see an empty garbage can, and then the garbage can next to it has its lid open, and the garbage is just overflowing. Would you go as far as to start finding the residents who are
help? We actually have, with the help of my ward superintendent, and the help of community members, when these things are reported to us, we go out, we issue warnings. We give people a fair warning on what they're doing. We don't immediately go to fine, because I don't think that's actually fair. But we give you fair warning and remind you of what your responsibilities are. And if the bad behavior continues, then we issue citations for fines. This is
Okay.
especially problematic with multi-unit apartment buildings. If they don't have the right size dumpster, or if they're not getting their garbage picked up enough, we look at those complaints and we're taking actions on those immediately.
Okay, Tony?
Yes, it's definitely having, an older person who's out there regularly, who has a very competent ward superintendent, who has his eyes are your eyes, his ears are your ears, your constituents are his constituents. It has to be that binding relationship between the two, and he has to know that it's of paramount importance. I mean, this rat problem is big. We've been out there on a campaign talking to thousands of people. I've come across several. One sticks out in my mind, and I did help her with a city service request. She's killed 72 rats herself by her own baiting over the last probably 12 months, 13 months. 72 rats. She came into my office and just knocked on the door, and I said, "Well, what can I do to help? I'm not an alderman. I'm running for it. I'm hoping to be serving you soon." But I helped her with a city service request. They followed up, but it is rolling that ball up the hill. It's a chronic problem. We need neighbors. We need, people to step up. And yes, the ward superintendent has to issue tickets to people who have garbage everywhere, and especially the garbage that has to be collected out in front of the homes. Some areas we have to, on a day of collection, the garbage can goes in front. Well, sometimes it stays there 4 or 5 days. I've been getting that complaint too, that we need to do something about this. The rats are out in front. The garbage cans need to be put away after the garbage is picked up. That's really problematic.
Okay, I'm going to have to cut you short because we
Okay.
still want to take questions from the audience. Nicole, did you want to respond to that? Or you just want to move on?
I just have one other comment, and the other problem that we're addressing real time here at the ward office is problem and vacant buildings and construction. So whenever a site is under construction, if a building's coming down, they are required to exterminate beforehand. And I know anytime that we're digging up the ground, we are disturbing the nest of rats. So while all of those things are going on, we have to follow that up immediately with rodent abatement steps.
Okay, so folks, if you want your question to be answered, in the comments section, type your question in there and keep it about 2 or 3 sentences so we can get it on the screen. But soon we're going to be going to the question and answer part. I also want to remind the viewers that if you're not from the 11th Ward, or if you're, you really shouldn't be commenting, and we don't want any trolls on this feed, okay? So what's going to happen is, it's not going to look good on your candidate. Let's just put it that way, okay? So please be respectful of both of the candidates. They are really working hard, and let's keep this really classy, okay? Okay. Now the next question is going to come from the question's going to. I'll ask the question, but I'm going to give you the lead, okay? Here's the lead right here. True that, is it accurate, is that 90% of the juniors in high school are not testing at proficiency grade level? Is that accurate?
Well, I think the number is a little higher in aggregate, but among black students, I think it may actually be greater than 90%. So clearly, the district is an overwhelmingly minority, low-income district, and even before COVID, only 1 in 4 students were grading at grade level, or were meeting state standards, and 1 in 6 black students were meeting were meeting state standards. But since COVID, based on last year's test scores, I think district-wide, 1 in 6 students are meeting state standards, and less than 10% of the black students are meeting state standards. So clearly, The test scores, which were pretty bad before COVID, have actually grown far worse.
Okay, that's the question from Paul Vallis, candidate for mayor. I'm sure everybody knows. Now, let me ask you this. According to a study, 90% of juniors in Chicago public schools are not meeting grade level in math and science. Who should be held accountable for the poor performance, and how should it be fixed? Tony, we'll start with you.
Well, it's unacceptable. There's a lot of reasons why, right? There's a lot of reasons why. It starts at the home. It starts in the home with that guidance that you get from your parents. A lot of the underprivileged kids are in situations that are out of their control. They didn't ask to be in them. They were born into them. They're born into trauma. I mean, there's a lot of kids that are born into very traumatic situations where there's not a dad in the home. There might not even be a mom in the home. A grandmother is raising them. The grandmother might be, dealing with an addiction or a mental health condition. These are some serious traumatic barriers that we're up against, right? But there are having a very robust education task force that is meeting people where they're at. After school matters is vital. No Child Left Behind program is vital to fill the cracks so that we can save, we can just not say goodbye to generations, because we have lost generations, and it's got a lot to do with, it starts at the home. Some of these guys, they have broken homes, and we have to be there for them. We have to be there to fill them cracks. There's other programs as well, but After School Matters really sticks in my mind because I was involved in that as well. No Child Left Behind, meeting people where they're at, and having programs that really help these kids along to break those cycles and carry them on to a possible GED or a high school diploma and go on to college. I've seen that in my profession. I've always tried to make an impact in a child's life. He was being arrested, but we tried to go a different angle, talking about that there's not many options. There's not an exit strategy. There's no pension plan.
Okay, all right. So specifically, how should the problem be fixed?
Everyone has to be on board. It takes everyone. It takes parents at the home, someone at the home. There has to be guidance there. It takes leadership in the community. It takes these programs that are funded, nonprofit 501c3 programs, private corporations. They've been wonderful. Mercy Home for Boys and Girls has been wonderful.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, how should it be? Okay.
Everyone together.
All right.
Everyone together, Steve.
Okay, thank you. Nicole?
Yeah, so just wanted to be clear on the question again, Steve, because your question was who should be held accountable for the test scores being the way they are. Was that the question?
Yes. Thank you
I was just a little lost.
No, you picked it up. You picked it up perfectly.
All right, got it. Look, every young person in the city of Chicago and across this country deserves high quality education. And if you're talking about accountability, I don't think it is just one group. I don't disagree with Tony here on this. I think we all have a
You guys agree?
Yeah, well, there's, I'll tell you, there's lots of things that we agree on. But on this, I will say, and my hair's getting all crazy, sorry. On this, I will say that we all have a responsibility in this, right? Because we've allowed for student-based budgeting to remain the way it is. Students in the Chicago public school system are cheated out of funds that are not coming from the Illinois State Board of Education. And yes, we have enrollment problems, and all of this is part of a big ecosystem. So when we don't have, if I may, Steve,
sure.
when we have low enrollment and it's student-based budgeting, we don't have enough resources in any one given school if it's under-enrolled. All right, so we have to be able to look at everything as an ecosystem and be able to corner and make changes dynamically as we need to. So in addressing the responsibility on this, I think we all individually as citizens, as elected officials, as people that work in government, have to be able to do all our part in ensuring that we're bringing every single resource possible. to students, for students to succeed. And that includes help for families from the digital divide and making sure that people have internet access, because in this digital age, if you don't, you're at an even deeper handicap at the end of the day. But we need to provide the wraparound services that can address those family issues that Tony was talking about earlier. Not everybody is lucky enough to have, a nuclear family where, everybody's got a role and someone's always looking out for you. Oftentimes, for a lot of our students in CPS, school is the only place where there are adults that are looking at you and watching out for what you need.
Okay, now we have, actually, we're going to get out of that screen. We're going to, we have a very good question here, and I want to bring in that question if, just bear with me. Okay, so I'm going to bring in this question. All right, here's the question. Can you guys read that? Can you both read that question?
Yes.
Okay. No child left behind passes the children to the next grade without learning what they were needed to learn. How are they supposed to follow the next grade if they don't have foundation from the last? What happened to summer school? That's a very good question. Tony, we'll start with you.
I was involved with After School Matters and No Child Left Behind. I didn't experience what you're speaking to, Tina Marie. Very nice to meet you. Thank you for your question. I didn't experience that. I experienced kids. I experienced tutoring. I experienced CEOs coming from the private corporate world, coming in, giving their time, that give back, sitting down with the kids. I had professors from universities. There were high school teachers that were all involved with just coming and helping and bringing these kids along and getting them up to speed. And the kids that moved on to the next grades were tested to move on to that next grade, and they passed those tests. I actually saw that.
Okay, we're tough on time. So
that's it. I saw tutoring. I saw summer programs. I saw amazing people do amazing things, and I saw kids breaking cycles and changing their stars. That's what I experienced.
Thank you, Nicole.
Yeah. So
and folks, well, hold on. I hate to cut both of you guys off, but I'm looking at the clock, and I understand that you guys are on a time limit. So if I'm cutting you off, it's not because it's not out of rudeness. It's just that I want to there's a lot of questions popping up on the screen on my end, and if the answers are really long, a lot of people aren't going to get their questions asked. Okay. Okay. Nicole.
And I'll keep this brief. So No Child Left Behind actually isn't active anymore. President Obama replaced that with Every Student Succeeds Act, and that actually I think addresses some of the criticisms. It's not something that I'm very well versed on, Tina, so I don't want to tell you something that I'm not sure of. But I think the sentiment of your question it gets to the heart of what the problem is, and the question of whether or not kids are ready to be promoted to the next grade. I don't know where we are on summer school. I know some schools offer it and some schools don't. I know that there are lots of programs that do offer summer enrichment, and I think that's something that we have to continue to support, to make every resource available so that kids can stay kept up and they can stay on schedule to be promoted.
Okay, that's great. Now, what we're going to do, we're going to show about a 30-second commercial, and we're going to pop right back in. But while we're doing that, folks out there, if you have questions, submit them in the comment section. We got some good questions coming in. Submit them in the comment section. You have to be from the 11th Ward to submit a question, and keep the questions about two to three sentences, and you have a high priority of it being heard. And we'll be right back. I started the fishing derby, and it's a blast for kids. Each year, I have the lagoon stocked with 250 pounds of catfish, 1,000 sunfish, and 200 largemouth bass. Please join us. I look forward to meeting you. Okay, we are back, and Tony, are you there? Tony, somebody grab Tony. Okay, Nicole, let's talk about the weather while we see Tony come back.
Beautiful weather for door
I'm
knocking,
back.
which I'm not doing right
Hey,
now.
All right, so
I'm back. Yes, sir.
you guys
Hey,
are doing.
Tony, thanks for making sure that you were on mute that time.
Oh my God.
Hey, listen. Okay, so now this next question is via video. Okay, and here we go.
My name is Lilia Guevara, member of the Parent Advisory Board at Kids First Chicago and a public health ambassador supporting mental health. I am deeply concerned and troubled by the proposed opening cannabis dispensary in Ashland and 35th, impacting community members at McKinley Park in Bridgeport. Will you be supporting the proposed opening for this cannabis dispensary?
Okay, we're back. Nicole, you want to start with you? Your sound piece, please.
Yes, is that
Perfect.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
We're
very
good.
well. Yes.
All right, I'm gonna hold it right up to my
There
mouth.
you go.
I met the woman that asked the question at the community meeting that was held, the first community meeting, the only one so far, that was held by Justice Cannabis regarding their application for dispensary permit. And to be honest with you, I am still interested in hearing from more constituents. There's a whole process around the Zoning Board of Appeals for the dispensary to even get an approval to do it. It's not necessarily in the hands of the alderman. Obviously, I have the opportunity to weigh in just like everybody else does. And while the cannabis dispensary and cannabis is legal in the city of Chicago, I think the biggest question is the location of this the dispensary in question right now and its proximity to schools, as well as a drug treatment facility across the street. So I'm going to be having another community meeting. I want to do a lot of listening and want to make sure that we're hearing all of the voices across the ward about whether or not this is A, something that we want, and B, is this the right location? I think those are the two key issues, and I'm going to be interested in hearing more from everybody else. So my mind is not made up on this yet.
Is it common for you to have multiple meetings on zoning issues?
If I feel the need to, yes. I have had, if there's been disagreement where there's enough community opposition to something, I try to find very committed to compromise and really getting to the heart of what the most pressing concerns are of the residents who are raising the objections, and I'm looking for some sort of middle ground. Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Before I make a decision on something. So I'm willing to sort of take the extra step to go beyond just one meeting where a limited number of people have spoken to make sure that we're having conversations with all of the right stakeholders.
Okay, so
yes, it is not uncommon for me to have more than one meeting.
Okay, so this last meeting, would it be safe to say that about roughly over 90% of the people were against? They're not against the cannabis dispensary; they're just against it in the specific location. Would that be accurate to say?
It was a majority of the people that were at the meeting, and that meeting was not my community meeting. It was one that was required of the applicant to hold that. So I want to hold a different kind of town hall about cannabis.
Okay, thank you. Tony?
This is where we disagree totally. I can't believe it's not a no. This is a common sense approach that I'm looking at. If that came across my desk, I'm saying no. I know marijuana is legal. I know there are dispensaries. It just needs to be in a different ward, not in my ward. As alderman, I have that authority to put my no stamp on it. I would put my no stamp on it immediately, and it's common sense. I have children. It's in close proximity to schools. It's in close proximity to the recovery center. It's in close proximity to daycare. It's in close proximity to residents who don't want it. You got to listen to the people you serve. 90% of them say no. I say no. I put my stamp on it, no. And that's the end of it. Go to a different ward, not my ward.
Nicole, you want to respond or just move on to the next question?
Just to be clear, the final decision is with the Zoning Board of Appeals, which is an independent board that decides on issuances of special use permits for cannabis. And again, while an alderman can lodge a complaint and an objection, they don't necessarily need to follow that objection. And we have instances in this ward already where the alderman, as well as the zoning administrator, objected to something, and the zoning board of appeals still continued to move forward with that. So, due respect, it's not something that an alderman can just stop because they wanted to.
Okay, let's move on.
And could I rebut?
Sure.
That's fine. I get that. And that may be the case, but my strong objection will be on record.
Okay. All right, thank you. Now, next question is, should there be rent control in Chicago? And Tony, we will start with you.
Should there be rent control in Chicago? It's a very good question.
Thank you.
Yeah. Is that yours, Steve?
Can't say. I'm not at liberty to disclose that information.
You know, talking to these senior citizens, man, we've been out here, and I've been around them, and they're wonderful people. They're the matriarchs, the patriarchs that came before us, that paved the way, and all of them echo the same. Their rent is really high. They're struggling to pay it, to put food on their table, and my heart goes out to them. Some of these buildings are private buildings. They raise the rent on them. It's a tough situation. I'd love to dive deep in with them.
Okay, but should there be rent control in Chicago?
Rent control in Chicago. If I owned a building, and I have a mortgage to cover, and I have property taxes that have gone up, have increased in some areas 40%, and an average 34%, and the banks aren't saying we're gonna decrease your mortgage payment. They're looking for their mortgage payment. They're looking for their property tax payment. So as far as affordable rent, we're keeping up with the inflation index here, which is at an all-time 30-year high. How do you put that on a property owner, someone who owns a property, a landlord, who's invested his hard-earned money and is trying to raise his family and put food on his table and make sure his kids have the best educations, and now he's got a lower rent? That's what is this? Is the government's coming in on this and making this affordable across the board? I'm not even sure where that would come from, but I don't think that's fair to the property owner who has invested his hard-earned money.
Okay, Nicole, your sound. Your sound, Nicole.
I muted because I had to cough and I didn't want you to hear it, and then I forgot to take it off mute. Someone needed to hold up the sign that said "You're on mute." Thanks for the question. Rent control and whether or not we should have it, that's something that has to be determined at Springfield. That's a state legislative type of issue.
Well, I understand that, but should there be rent control in Chicago is the question.
I'm getting to it, Steve. Give me a sec.
All right. Take as much time as you want.
I don't think rent control is the answer to our affordable housing challenges, and we've got affordable housing issues across the city. Affordability, and that's not the same as low-income or public housing. So I want to make that distinction because I think a lot of times people will hear affordability and they think something totally different. And affordability is that a working-class person, a person making like $60,000 a year, could afford to rent in our ward, and that can be challenging at different places. So I think we do need to focus on keeping housing costs affordable for everybody in the community, balancing the fact that tax assessments continue to go up, and those costs get passed along to renters very often. So we've got to take a look at this from a very holistic perspective.
And Nicole, specifically, how would you do that?
Specifically, how would I address affordable housing from a holistic perspective?
Yes.
Yeah, so we have something that I voted for, which is called the Equitable Transit Oriented Design Ordinance, which being in a ward that has really great public transit, access to public transit, it's the ability to help take cars off the road, but that is making it a really conducive environment for increased density in certain areas within a certain amount of space from high density transit. So the way we help with affordability is encouraging more dense development with less parking, making sure that we have access to also from a home ownership perspective, that we're building a path for people to also own affordable homes in the community, and that would include making sure that everybody has information on access to government programs as well as private lending options, and working with local banks to do that.
Okay. Tony, you want to respond to that? Or should we
Nope.
move on to the next question? No?
Move
Okay.
along.
All right. So crime seems to be a hot topic. So here's our next question. And I'm sure you both know this guy. Question to both candidates. As the current alderperson and active police officer, what specifically have you done in conjunction with Commander Jerome in the 9th District and in the community to make the 11th Ward safer today? Please give specific examples of actual involvement in the last 6 months. And Nicole, we will start with you.
Sure, I can give you a couple of examples
Specifically.
of my partnership. Yep, specifically with Commander Jerome to make the community safer. So in the last 6 months, that's when the additional car on the weekends was added in Chinatown for the additional presence, and that was done as a result of meetings with the Chinatown Chamber of Commerce, with local community leaders, as well as Commander Jerome, and finding a creative way to make that happen. He had my full support on providing that additional car. That was one. Another instance I can point to in the last 6 months would have been some gang activity that resulted in shootings, multiple shootings in Canaryville, which part of the ward that is no longer in the 11th Ward today. But that particular instance, we brought in the neighbors in the area who had all the video of what was going on, who had the biggest concerns, and we sat down with the commander. We sat down to get information from each of the residents on what they knew, information that they had already collected, and working in conjunction with them, they assigned special attention details to do additional rounds. We did a roll call over there and increased the presence, and they have not had any additional issues since then.
Okay. Tony?
I've had the pleasure over my career, and we're talking about 12 months. I've been doing it over 3 decades. Commander Jerome and I have crossed paths several times. I was actually tasked with creating incident action plans for something that was called NATO. I don't know if you guys remember it. It was a pretty huge deal that everybody around the country was adopting. They wanted to do exactly what the Chicago police was doing. Now we're talking in the last 6 months, Commander Jerome, I've spoke to him several times. I told him I'm coming. I told him I can't wait to work with him. I'm a pretty positive guy, if you haven't noticed. I'm a winner. I have winning ways. I've been in the SDSC room several times. That's strategic decision room. That's where you see the crime as it's happening. It's reported as it's happening in real time. You're watching cameras. You're seeing real time violence. You're seeing victims, violent traumatic victims in real time. You're deploying officers. You're following crime patterns. I've sat in there for hours with the officers there. Jason Brown is a good friend of mine. He's been there. He's a lieutenant there. Lieutenant Sedvick is a great friend of mine. We've been friends for over 25 years. We're always bouncing strategies back and forth. So yeah, in the last 6 months, they've been struggling with the high crime rates. It's over 40%.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yes, I have really
All
good
right.
relationships with those people.
All right. We have questions. Nicole, your sound, please. Nicole, your sound.
I don't think we actually got to any actions that have been taken with Commander Jerome in the last 6 months, but it's good to know you've got a lot of friends, and I know you've got a lot of experience, Tony, but that wasn't actually answering the question.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not the alderman.
Okay.
If I was the alderman,
all right.
30%.
All right. Listen. We're going to move on. Okay.
Thanks.
Next
Steve.
question. You're welcome. All right. Can you guys see this? We're getting some really good questions in here, and you guys are doing. It's a very good forum, and I think it's providing the voters with a lot of information. What are your plans for economic development to the very south side of the 11th Ward? And Nicole, we will start with you.
Plans Thanks for economic development. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. Thanks for the question, Karen. So just to let you know, one of the things that I've done is I've requested for the 35th and Halsted TIF to be extended so that it goes as far south as the Stockyards Bank building. That is on the southern end of the ward along the Halsted Street corridor, and we are looking to very actively issue an RFP to develop the bank building and the parcel of land that's adjacent to it right across the street. So by expanding the TIF, we're opening up more funding for that area. Specifically, that is something that's being done real time today.
Tony.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I got plans, big plans. My son, my kids are travel athletes. Everything we do is in Aurora or LaGrange or Schaumburg. I want to open up the anchor of the South Side, that far South Side that Karen McManus Ensworth is asking. Thank you, Karen, for your question. I want to open up a multi-purpose sports facility, something that rivals anyone that I've ever been at. The sports complex, Wintrust Sports Complex at 65th and Central comes to mind. It's amazing. They have elite volleyball tournaments throughout there. Every other weekend, they have basketball, elite basketball level. My kids play at the elite level. We're there. There's recreation level. There's event centers. There's
So specifically, what would this recreation facility entail?
It would be an acre. It would bring in people from all over.
No, I got that, but what type of facility what would be in there?
Multi-purpose sports facility.
Such as what? Such as what?
With a bar and grill. It's not a hockey rink, Steve. Sorry to bust your bubble, but it's for indoor lacrosse, basketball, volleyball, soccer.
So no ice rink.
Field.
So no ice rink. Just so we're clear.
Yes, there's ice cream. There's going to be
no ice rink.
There will be ice.
No, an ice rink.
No ice rink, brother. Sorry.
You hear that, hockey players out there? Okay, I'm just joking. All right, Nicole, you want to respond, or you want to move to the next question?
You can move to the next question.
Okay, folks, your questions are really good, and when we did this, we had no idea the questions that would come in, but they really are good questions. Okay, Tony, we will start with you on this question. What will you do about the constant drag racing that occurs all summer long? Additionally, the parties that spill out into the streets.
The parties that spill out into the streets.
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
Brothers, what is that? The Art Center, Zhu Brothers Art Center.
Yeah, I don't know if, but there is drag racing.
Well, we had a drag racing question in our last debate or forum. It's something I'm pretty well versed in. I was, prior to my present position, I was the business liaison in the 1st District, and we had we had and have a bad drag racing problem on Lower Wacker all the way around to Harbor Drive. We've had several strategies in place. I've actually was out there several weekends, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I've worked closely with Alderman Riley and his staff on strategies and solutions. And there are several that I'm going to adopt because several of them were very, very robust. We had great outcomes with them. And the main thing, Steve, is not one life, saving lives. One life is too many. Drag racing, it just happens. There's always fatalities with these when they're mostly younger kids. So we just have to, between enforcement and getting out in front of it before it happens, knowing that it's coming, just trolling around social media, trying to, through CPIC, the Chicago Police Information Center, we catch a lot of stuff on there, a lot of these meetings and where they're meeting and we try to get out in front of it before it happens. So adopt some of those strategies, bring them here to the 11th Ward, and do the best we can on it.
Okay, Nicole, please.
Put the question back up for me. I just want to make sure I've got it. It just disappeared.
Yes, there it is. Yes.
Thank you, and thank you, Bridgeport Huskies, for the question. What these two things have in common are the nuisance that it creates, in both cases for the residents of the 11th ward. So regarding the constant drag racing that occurs all summer long, that is something that as a city council, we passed an ordinance last year allowing for police that get video evidence of a car being engaged in drag racing or in some of these, you know, uh, what's drifting things and holding up traffic that we can impound your car. So much of this is coming in from other parts of the suburbs. They're not actually people from the city, and we've got to sort of pull the trigger on every thing that we have possible. So one of the things that I actually got the idea from a constituent as I was knocking doors was she pitched to me, let's put speed cameras on Archer Avenue between Ashland and Canal and turn them on only at night. And I love this idea, and I'm going to be working with CDOT to see if we can make that happen, and at least from a experimental or pilot basis, because I do think that that might actually help because the cameras will capture people drag racing and we can hit them where it hurts in terms of fines. On the subject of the Joe Brothers, and actually the building across the street also has problems with parties after hours getting out of control and spilling out. That's a real problem that we have, and I think we've got to stay on top of that. I want to hold people accountable. I haven't had as many reports about the Joe Brothers gallery recently, but the building across the street, the Blue Star building across the street, we're actively working with the CAPS team at the 9th District and with the Vice team with their VACP to monitor the people that are over there, because we have had consistent problems, and we're looking to address that properly and hopefully get that taken care of where it doesn't happen anymore.
Tony, you want to respond briefly? Or can we move on?
Again, briefly, really brief. With the business liaison position, we had problematic event centers and bars, and there were strategies as well. I would adopt the same strategies. It's all enforcement, hit people in their pockets, and that makes the biggest difference in the world. When they get fines and when their license is on the line, they make the adjustments.
Nicole?
Yep, I'm good.
Okay, we're now at the stage where we're going to do closing remarks. Okay, so Nicole, you started, so Tony, you will have up to 2 minutes closing remarks for tonight's forum. Okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Go whenever you're ready. Tony?
I'm first. Okay, sorry,
Yes,
Steve.
it's okay.
Okay, on February 28th, more than 2/3 of you rejected Mayor Lightfoot's choice for alderman and voted for change. On April 4th, you have the opportunity to reject Lori Lightfoot's failed policies and decades of machine politics that have left Halsted Street shuttered, blighted, and vacant. That is where 83% of your real estate tax dollars are going. 83%, people. And next year, and every year after that, City Hall will be coming for even more of your hard-earned money. So please vote for me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Nicole, please.
Thanks, Steve,
Nicole, your microphone, please. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve, and thanks again for organizing this. I appreciate we've had so many people stick with us, 108 now. So hello, everybody out there.
Well, by the time it's before you start, by the time this thing is over, I believe there will be thousands of people who will watch this video.
I'm sure there will be, and thanks for pulling it all together, Steve. Listen, I'm so proud of the work that I've done over the course of the last 12 months. My team and I have worked hard. We have fought hard to ensure that public safety is funded. We are funding programs that are meaningful, that are bringing new businesses to the ward. And I reject the notion that there is blight on Halsted Street. There are actually 3 new businesses that are getting ready to open. I have, over the course of this last 12 months, I am the only one in this race that has any experience and a track record that you can judge me on, and I invite you to do that. I have been working hard to earn the trust every day of the residents of the 11th Ward. I want to continue to build on the work that we're doing. There's so much more that needs to be done. I want to be here to do it, and I want to continue to serve this beautiful ward and make it the best possible ward. And I'm looking forward to asking you to vote for me. Starting today, actually, there's still time. Actually, no, there's not. It's 8:04. You can go tomorrow to early voting and every day until April 4th. And I humbly ask for your support in this race so that I can continue to serve the 11th Ward and make this the greatest ward possible. Thank you.
All right. I'd like to thank both of the candidates for participating today.
Thank you, everyone, for viewing.
Sure. I think you guys were very informative. And now it's up to the voters to get out there and vote. Remember, early voting's taking place at McWayne Park and McKinley Park. So thank you, everybody, for participating. And the questions were really good questions. And I thought overall this forum was a success.
Steve, real quick.
Yes.
It's the McKinley Park Library, correct?
McKinley Park Library, correct? Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. So everybody, thank you, and thank you, Nicole. Thank you, Tony. We appreciate it.
Good night, guys.
All right. Take care and enjoy the music.
We wait all year for the time it's goodbye. Those cold and gray skies, the sun is shining, temperature rising.